What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to tackle an issue that comes up every year this time of year, and that is heat in the cab. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 5 things you can do to reduce the heat in your cab, whether it's a Honda Talon like myself, a KRX, a Polaris RZR, any machine that you have. What can be done to reduce the heat? In this video, we're going to take a look at 5 different things that you can do. So stay tuned, let's check them out. Easy peasy, man. Okay, so these are not going to be in any particular order. I'm just going to list 5 things that I found and doing a bit of research on what you can do to reduce the heat in your cab. Some of these things I've done myself, or someone else in the group has. Some of these things we have not done, but we're going to show them to you anyway because they do look like pretty good ideas to help reduce the heat, and hopefully they help lead you along a path that helps you reduce the heat in your cab. The first thing I want to talk about is heat shielding. Now, you may have seen our video in the past on installing heat shielding in both the KRX and the Teryx. Both options made some difference, more so in the Teryx than it did in the KRX. But a lot of people use heat shielding to reduce the heat in the cab of their side-by-side. I've seen it used on Polaris RZRs, I've seen it used on Can-Am Mavericks, Honda Talons, just about anything else. Installing heat shielding on the underside of your plastic, especially in the tunnel, can help reduce the heat that comes into your cab. Heat shielding can also be used to keep your drinks from getting hot. If you're like me, you carry water bottles usually in the cup holders or some other beverage, and the cup holders in just about every side-by-side are known to take your drinks from being nice and cool to nice and hot after about 15-20 minutes of riding. You got a couple options. Number one, obviously, is to get yourself a Yeti or some other similar type of tumbler. Put your drink in there and you're pretty well protected. The other option is to use some insulation, whether it's heat shielding or anything else, to reduce the heat that goes through the tunnel and wrap it around your cup holders. There's a couple cool options out there for doing this. I'll link below to an option from Wolf Snout. They make multiple kits from multiple different machines where you can insulate your cup holders, cover up some of the holes and everything else in your rig, and provide some heat shielding for your cup holders and other pieces of your machine. Another super common place to have heat come up is from the gear shift area. There's usually a hole or line of sight straight down to the bottom, if not straight down to the bottom, at least to the skid plates or into the tunnel. And you'll often find heat coming up through there quite a bit. There's also holes where seat bolts go into the tub, into the frame. Just a ton of holes all over inside of your rig. If you want to start to reduce the heat that goes into your machine, it's a good idea to plug up some of those holes to keep the heat and a side benefit, the dust, from coming up in. Before we continue real quick, this is not a I know everything video. These are just 5 ideas that I came up with. If you have an idea to reduce the cab heat in your rig or anybody's side-by-side, leave it in the comments below. What have you done to reduce the heat? Let us know so we can let other people know, or you can let other people know down below. Also, while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. That helps YouTube know that people are watching and suggests our videos to other people. It definitely helps grow the channel. So the next thing that you can do to reduce the heat in your cab is work on your airflow. So the first thing a lot of people do nowadays, one of the first mods that they do is putting in lower doors. Lower doors to plug up the big gaping hole that is left there by the manufacturer. Whether it's like my Talon where it's got a huge space missing, or like the Pro XP where it's a smaller space missing, just about every manufacturer is releasing their machines with holes in the doors. One exception that comes to mind right away, and I'm sure there's others, is the KRX. But there's still plenty of machines out there with doors that have big gaping holes in them. And the first thing that we do is plug up those holes. Well, those holes actually have a purpose. If you were to remove your lower doors, if you do have them installed, you'll get a much better airflow coming into the bottom of your machine and getting that heat out that comes from usually near the center tunnel of your side-by-side. I've seen a couple cool things on Facebook groups and other places that are basically quick disconnects for your lower door panels, whether it's adding a nut cert and being able to just remove your lower door panels with a couple quick nuts and bolts, or a couple other options. So look at removing your doors, your lower doors anyway, and that will definitely help with the airflow going into your rig. Another cool mod that you can do is use door latches. There's a couple different ones of them out there that basically allow you to open your door that much and still latch it closed. So they're an extension of your door latch, and it allows the air coming into your machine to come in and cool things down on the inside of the cab. Really helps exhaust the heat out of it. I'll link a couple options for those door latches below. Check them out if you think it'll help you. I do. I'm about to put them on the Talon. I don't have them on yet, but I'm definitely going to be adding them to mine to keep the doors open and allow some airflow in when I'm doing, the less high-paced riding and stuff like that. Okay, the third thing that you can do to reduce the heat in your cab is to install fans. Now, there's a couple different types of fans that I want to talk about. The first is an internal roof fan option. I'm starting to see more of these out there, and it really is a great idea. I ran across a video, and I'll roll it right here so you can see it, from a guy on Facebook. This guy had taken some radiator fans and installed them on some crossbars on the roof of his cage in his Honda Talon, and it actually looks like a really cool setup. He installed it with a switch that allows you to adjust the speed or variable speed to each one of the fans, which is really cool. And to me, I think that would be a great solution to increase the airflow and overall reduce the cab heat in your rig. I've also seen people install fans on the roll bar or just on the dash to blow air on the driver or passengers as you're driving. To me, that's not a great option, just because fans mounted like that are probably going to bounce around a bit and may end up snapping off if you hit those whoops or those G-outs or whatever hard enough. Another thing you might want to consider is removing your front windshield. So I have a front windshield in my machine, but I'm fortunate enough that the windshield that I have has very large vents that allows a ton of airflow through, and I don't think it's an issue for me. But there are other windshields out there that don't have as large of vents and don't allow as much airflow through. Those windshields, you may want to consider removing them and perhaps putting in a half windshield for the summer months and then throwing your full windshield back on for the winter months. Along the lines of windshields, you may want to consider removing a back window as well if you have it, because sometimes that doesn't allow the airflow to come in through the back. The next one to consider for your side-by-side, believe it or not, is misters. So I saw this system, I forget, it was mentioned on a Facebook page somewhere else or something, but it actually looked like a cool option for a lot of side-by-side owners. It's not going to work for everyone. If you ride in really dusty places, first one that comes to my mind is Duck Creek, Utah. But in really dusty places that don't get a lot of moisture, a mister is not going to be a great option for you. You're going to get a muddy face, and you're going to get all muddy and nasty from just having a mister blowing on you all the time. But other places where you may get a little more moisture and there's not a ton of dust, it's an absolutely awesome option. And there's actually a company out there called Extreme Mist that I think they used to make a kit that was specifically for the RZR, but now it just looks like they sell portable misting systems. But they are pretty darn cool. And you could easily set it up for your machine, whether it's a RZR or anything else. Basic tubing installed around the roll cage of your machine, and then the system that they provide, a battery-powered system that will provide mist on you and your passengers. Looks like a really cool system. I think it'd be great for most dunes, a lot of dunes anyway, as long as it's not too crazy dusty. And even in the dunes, it might be worth it. But other places where it's not super dusty, this is a great option. Will provide some mist for you to keep your body temperature down. I'll link to it down below. We're not affiliated with these guys at all, but it is a pretty cool system and would allow you to kind of keep yourself cool while you're in your side-by-side. If you're a little cheap like me, another option is just a spray bottle mister. So you can use any kind of spray bottle mister just to spray mist on you every now and again when you stop to cool you down. If you're wet, just a little bit wet, obviously it's going to be much cooler as you ride down the trail. So I'll link to another spray bottle that I've used in the past, and I highly recommend. There are plenty other options out there. Look for the link to that spray bottle in the description down below. So the last option for reducing the heat in your cab, and probably the actual fix-it option, is to relocate your radiator. So there are not a ton of side-by-sides that have the radiator in the back of the machine. However, there are some options out there. The YXZ is the first one come to mind. I think in 2019, 2020, they moved the radiator to the back of the rig. Super great idea. It allows the heat to be all in the back of the rig. Much of the heat that you get in the side-by-side, the vast majority, is from the 180, 200 degree water running in the tunnel back and forth from the radiator up front to the engine in the back. So if you're able to relocate your radiator behind and get those hot water tubes out from under your seat there in the tunnel, that is the ideal situation. That way you eliminate that 200-degree water, your drinks stay cooler, your leg stays cooler, and you eliminate a lot of the cab heat from your rig. So the ideal option, and we'll link a couple below as well so you can check them out, are radiator relocation kits. There's not one for every machine, but there's one for plenty of machines out there. So that's an option you may want to consider. You may want to look at it to help you reduce the cab heat in your rig. Okay guys, we appreciate you watching. That's it for this video. If you've liked what you saw, like I said before, don't forget to subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Click the notification bell so you do get notified when videos come out. With that said, ride safe, pack out what you pack in, and we'll see you on the next one.
You never knew what love was. You lived your life with mouths of bitterness. And I'm just gonna say it, I'll say it. I used to think